Okay, so we're here with another video, and I'm actually really excited about this because I haven't done a tutorial in a hot minute, and I've also haven't done a really easy, simplistic tutorial in an even hotter minute. So we're here with a very simple tutorial, and we're going to be turning this ugly faceplate into something beautiful. You can see here, hopefully, that there's a lot of scratches, some gouges. There's actually like a chunk of plastic taken out here and here. It kind of almost looks like when someone was taking off the stickers, they were using like a screwdriver, and they're just like digging into all the plastic, because it's generally where there's a sticker. I got the faceplate like this from one of the guitars I bought. I buy everything cheap as heck, used as is, so this is how it comes. And I realized in order to turn this faceplate into a usable for myself or sellable to a customer faceplate, I'd have to Bondo these gouges out. I'd have to sand everything nice and fine and repaint. I'd basically spend a good, let's say with my day job and stuff, I'd spend a good week after work doing all of this, you know, a few hours every night and waiting for paint to dry and cure and stuff, and especially with the Bondo and all that, like, so much work. So, without further ado, this is what we're going to be doing. We're going to be duct taping this faceplate. Now you're probably thinking, that's kind of tacky and trashy, but it's not. It'll look really sick when this is done. I used to do this back in the day when I wasn't able to paint, and I got this idea the other day. I was at the store with my kids, and I was looking at, duct tape, and I was like, hey, I should do a video, because I've gotten a lot of comments on my old video that I made where I showed, like, full steps how to paint a Guitar Hero controller with the faceplate and or body. I think I showed both, and there's a whole bunch of comments that are just like, for whatever reason under the sun, they cannot paint. They don't have access to it, they just, whatever. They can't paint. So I figured this would be very helpful for those folks. I mean, I paid, less than $5 for this, and then I bought spare blades for my X-Acto knife for pretty cheap too. The reason being, you want a very nice, sharp blade that also has a very fine tip to it. Because if you're using like a razor blade, like a box cutter, the tip is going to be too thick even in the smallest of points, and you really want to get in there to these tight turns, and I'll explain the reasoning behind that. So, with these holes, when you put this on the body, the tolerance is pretty small. Like, the engineers and all that made this so it would fit very snugly. Some people will notice when they paint their faceplates, if they put too many coats, especially putting like too many coats of clear at the end because it's pretty thick, it'll actually rub and kind of peel some of the paint off in these holes. So what we want to do is we want to cover up everything with tape, and then we're going to cut out the hole in such a way where, we basically sketch out where the hole is. Again, a nice like X-Acto knife or something similar. If you don't have an X-Acto knife and you're not like buying the blades that you see in the clip, you actually can buy that same brand, makes an entire full piece with a blade that already comes with it. That'd be perfect. I think this was the same price as the blade refills, maybe like $1 more, but it was really cheap at Walmart. I got this because I'm going to take it to work, because I do use this occasionally, and the one blade is good enough. But for home, since I'm using this all the time, my good X-Acto brand and my new tips. The tips don't really matter what brand they are, as long as they're nice and thick. This one's pretty thick, so basically my test is, when I do, I don't want to do it to the face, but when I do like this, and I push on it, it doesn't flex or bend very much, which I like. I know some brands are like, we bend and flex all the time, but no, it's not our thing here. So, without further ado again, this is just going to be straightforward. I mean, it's a pretty simple thing. What we want to do, because you're going to see right away, all this tape is getting stretched and not usable. So what I usually do with that, I just take like the first 6 inches to a foot and just rip it off. You can rip it with your teeth, I don't really care. Because what we're going to be doing is, we're going to be starting at some point. We want to get the tape not so far here, but not also so far up. So we want to be able to cover this whole entire circle part here without covering this one, because that'll be the next section. But we also want, and there's some gunk on the tape right there, so I'm actually going to cut it more down the line. I bought a whole roll for one guitar faceplate, so I'm not concerned if I'm wasting any. So yeah, so from here we want to try to make it as straight as possible. I might get in the way, I apologize. I'm going to try not to. Alright, so I'm going to cut this piece so I can get the roll out of my hand. Almost just stabbed myself. That's always going to be nice, especially with a brand new blade. Okay. Alright, so then with this, I just take my finger, and I just kind of rub it out. Oh, and almost perfect, because you want it to be on the lip a little bit, but not fully. Yeah, almost. I wouldn't even call it almost perfect. That's pretty perfect. And now you can start right away with the cutting of this. With this one, I'm going to cut, for now, I'm going to cut kind of off a little bit, because I do want the outside to cover up a little bit, so when I put it on the guitar, you'll still see it from the outside. But I also don't want all this tape messing me up while I'm working on the rest of it. We'll clean up all the tape at the end, you know. But for now, it's already looking really good. Now, I will say that I'm sure some of these gouges will pull up in, like, under the tape. Like, you'll probably see the blemish under it, but there's nothing I can really do about that other than putting some putty or something under it, but I don't really want to do that. So, next piece. Doing this part off camera because I figured you don't really need to see. Now, when we overlap, we want to overlap not too much, but we also do want to overlap. If you do like that, you're going to get a line in between everything. So I usually go just like a couple millimeters. And I also want to be cautious that to the right here, I want to be over that lip. So it almost works out perfectly that if I go here and go over that lip, I'm covering up everything. And we want to just be careful about how we, I wouldn't call them bubbles, but I guess bubbles, how we get all the bubbles and all that extra stuff off. Good thing my table's nice and dusty from doing woodwork yesterday, so I don't have to worry. This, I'll leave that for now. We can worry about cutting that out. Now, I will say it's not very straight, and I don't like that, so I'm going to take that off. You don't have to be a perfectionist like me. Again, I have a whole roll dedicated to this. This first line may be off a little bit too, because that's kind of what I'm guiding this with. So let me double check that. Yeah, it starts with the first one. It's too angled. It's hard to do this with without being able to see straight, since I'm doing it through the camera. So I'm just going to move this back a little bit, and I'm going to try to get this as straight as possible. How does that look? I don't care if I cut all that extra. I'm going to keep on saying that the whole time just to convince myself, because I do still care. It's money that I'm wasting, and I could use this tape for other things, even just standard duct tape. But this is Duct brand, by the way, which is like some of the best. No, it's even worse. It's like way angled, man. Hopefully I can just use this piece. If I don't peel it too many times... no, I'm just gonna... I'm a perfectionist. It's my fault. It's gonna take me a whole hour to do instead of just a short amount of time. So I guess what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna stare at the strum bar. I'm gonna try to match it up to that same angle, and as long as I can get this to brush out. Alright, that's a lot better. It's not perfect, but instead of being like 85 degrees, it's more... Or sorry, instead of being like 5 degrees, it's more like 3 or 4. 85 would be totally wrong. I know my maths. I'm no idiots. Alright, so now we do the long piece. I'm going to pull this back as far as I can here. So I have that. Yeah, you know what? That's where we're going. It's not perfect, but since I'm really just caring more about a video and it's better than it was before, we're going to leave that how it is. And we literally just do that a handful of times. It's kind of a cheap and dirty video just to get everything done with. No, 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 no. Don't mess with the other piece of tape, please. And also, is this tape still... This tape is still usable, so we're good. It's just, again, hard. I'm trying not to overlap the camera, but also be mindful of making this straight. Ah. Ah. Duct tape is so goddamn sticky. I like how I mentioned, you know, 16-year-olds watch my videos. This goddamn duct tape. There we go. Okay, there, we're good. If it overhangs, whatever. I also like doing stuff like this on the fly where, I mean, I literally have not done this in... Shoot, when did Guitar Hero 80s come out? That's the last time I did it. Because I did it for that game coming out. I did a purple guitar. We had a white SG, me and my buddy, and I decided purple would be better, and so we did purple duct tape. But because it's been so long, basically my point is, it's nice, like I've done this before where I just go in blind with stuff, and then I try to like, kind of like, not I wouldn't say learn along the way, but just refresh, you know, instead of me being fully versed in it and really knowledgeable in it all, and like being like I got studied up, it's a lot easier to give a tutorial, in my opinion, when I'm also, like, I won't say learning, but again, going in kind of dry and raw. That's what she said. Okay, so now you have your faceplate, and it's already looking really good. We're just going to start trimming some of this excess nonsense on the outside. I'm going to probably just leave some of it as I've been doing. That way it doesn't stick to the table while I'm trying to work on it. Okay, so now what I want to do, it's not necessary, but I just kind of take this in some capacity. Honestly, like a marker. A marker would be better. Although, make sure the marker doesn't have shit on it. So not a marker. Don't use a marker. Shoot. I guess the best thing is going to be the X-Acto knife itself. Just to get a good... get a good idea of where the holes are. I can see them, but I don't know if you can. So again, with these ones, I'm going to cut as parallel to the body as I can. And I'm trying not to hack it. If you saw, I was pushing up and down. It's going to leave, like, hard marks. So that's why it's important to have a very sharp blade. I possibly have dulled the blade from the previous, you know, all the tape I've been cutting, because it is pretty sticky, which means it's going to gum up the razor and make it more dull quicker. But I did buy a 5-pack, so if I have to change this out, no big deal. Also, if you see any black here or anything, don't worry about it. Imagine what this thing looked like before. And so for this, I just pull tight on that, and then kind of, again, not trying to hack it, and kind of breaking my rule about going in even, but I say this in all my videos. You don't gotta copy me 100%, just the gist of it. I am gonna replace the blade though, just for the sake of it. So you don't have to do that. What I would suggest is that you cut the outer, you cut all the stuff with like a regular razor blade or like scissors. some like nice heavy duty scissors. That way, I kind of want to cut this a little bit off, but I'll leave it. Here, I'm just gonna push it. I would say cut everything, the dry stuff, with something other than this, then use this to do these holes and the outside. The hard part here is going to be because I cut into it, there's going to be nothing to grab. So I may have to hack some of this off just so I can get my finger in there to grab it. And then now I can go around. The pulling of it really helps. If I can. Okay, I don't want to hack, but I'm gonna have to a little bit. All right, two more holes, and then we'll do the outside. This one shouldn't be too bad. You will have to hack through the seams, which is just understandable. I mean, that's 2 layers of duct tape right there. Alright, kind of went on an angle there, but... there we go. Okay, it's all right. Nah, neat. Okay, so for like this little part, come back over. Just enough. Just enough to work, that's all I care about. Alright, now the outside, what we're gonna do, this is why I saved the outside for last, and hopefully I didn't mess up that. What you want to do is you want to put all these like slice marks. Like, I'm gonna wind up cutting this corner off real quick because it did get messed up. One second. Okay. So, let's give an example of like this whole... We'll say that this ends right here. And I really don't want to mess with the neck part. So we'll try to make that as straight as possible. Okay, so that's nice and straight. You can see it's really starting to take shape here. So with this, what you want to do is you want to just every few millimeters you want to put a slice. I don't know if you've ever cut cantaloupe before, but very similar to how you cut cantaloupe, and you'll see exactly why I'm doing this in a sec. So now when I roll this over, nothing gets kinked up. Nothing gets kinked up, and even though there's little like lines in there, at least it's over, right? So now that it's over, you can cut around. Maybe save this for last, but I'll show you here. You can just cut like that, and then I can take all these pieces off. I probably don't have to be honest. Where it really does matter is like around this that's broken. Like that definitely does matter. It can't have anything there. This corner probably matters pretty good because it's a corner. You just want to make sure it's flat, really, wherever it's going. I don't want to hurt myself. Unless there's no reason to rush. Okay. So now we're just going to do the same thing for basically the whole rest of the outside. Here, specifically, kind of got messed up a little bit. But we will fix that. So... what I'm going to have to do is kind of hold this while I trim the underneath. Again, sorry if I'm ever in the way. Try to make the any corner or anything, try to just make it look decent enough. And then back to that, just every couple millimeters. Like every quarter, let's say, for the people that grew up in America and can't understand metric, even though it's all I know, every, let's say, quarter inch. So this we should really cut a lot more off and closer. It all sounds the same, but it's good music. So we can roll it as we go. Not quite there yet. So you'll start to see, if you don't cut it, that it really bulges up. Essentially what you're doing here when you're splitting it like this, you're just letting it overlap with hopefully minimal issue. I can feel when it's coiled up or curled up. We can't have that. That's too, it'd be too thick underneath. So I guess what I'm going to do is I'm just going to if there's any spot that like it's too shallow to curl, you don't really have to curl it. You just gotta try to see how it's bulging right here. So I'm just gonna cut the bulge off. Maybe not off, but just try to mitigate it. So like here too, it's starting to really ripple. So there, now we need to cut basically a really good, I cut right against it, but whatever. And then finish up with this and this. And there you go. Just like that. But be careful when you're doing it, especially when I put it face down. A lot of stuff won't stick to it, but it'll stick to like itself, so that there's like chunks of tape under on the table like I had, it'll stick to it. But come on, look at that. That's sick. And then I just hurt my leg really bad. Ah, fuck. Ah, fuck. That hurts. Trying to find a guitar. It's right here. So now picture your guitar going from this, with like a scratched up faceplate and whatnot, you know, all the works. Then we change it to this. And then you can even take, say, where's my knife? Take the knife and I just go around. I mean, you don't have to do this part. I'm just doing it. I'll even take the back of the blade and I'll just like run it just like this, you know, like here. Kind of there. It doesn't look the greatest, but honestly, what would you rather take? Would you take the scratched up black faceplate that's all whatever, or for less than $10 would you get that? There you go. Hope you enjoyed. I always love making these. It was a nice, quick, easy video. I'll go throw all this extra duct tape away. And I'll be seeing you guys around, because as always, even if I'm not consistent, I'm always here.